Hello, 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 and welcome to the Babe Bulletin podcast, where we talk self-love, empowerment, boudoir, and anything else that makes us feel like a total babe. My name is Alicia. I'm a boudoir photographer and a body liberation expert, and we are talking about something that almost every single client that I have in my studio has on their body, and that is cellulite. People hate cellulite. And it's kind of ironic because almost every woman has it. So why do we hate something that the majority of us have? I think it's worth discussing. It's worth breaking down and it's worth talking about, especially because, ironically, maybe not ironically, maybe I didn't use that word correctly, but my studio exists in a way because of cellulite. I started my own self-love journey. I started doing all of this work, all of this body liberation research because I have a lot of cellulite on my legs. And I don't just have it on my butt or the back of my thighs. It is entirely around my legs from my knees up to my booty. So a lot of landscape is covered in cellulite. And I remember, gosh, this would have been in 2016 probably, staring at a full-length mirror in my husband's old apartment. The sunlight was coming in. It was hitting all of the texture on my legs and creating just tons of dimples and shadows. And I freaked out. I had a huge breakdown about the way that my legs look because they're not toned or fit. And FYI, this was many, many pounds ago. I was much thinner than I am now. And I still had a ton of cellulite, and it just, destroyed me on this particular day. And that was the turning point for me, because something finally clicked, and I was like, this is so stupid that I am wasting so much time crying over the way that my body looks. I'm literally having a mental breakdown because of cellulite. This cannot be my life for the next 50 years. I cannot be a 90-year-old woman still upset about the texture of my legs. This can't happen. So I started doing a bunch of research, following people who know far more than I did, and I decided to open up Buxom Boudoir because if I felt this way, I knew other people did, and I knew that this was a garbage feeling to have, and I didn't want other people to experience the breakdown that I had just had. So if it hadn't been for the cellulite on my legs, maybe Buxom Boudoir would never have existed. So today, we're going to dive into that exact topic, and we're going to remember that feeling that way about your cellulite, it's not uncommon. You're not broken. You're certainly not alone, but it isn't a feeling that we have to stay in anymore. And I don't know what this resurgence is of body hate. Oh my God, is it coming back in full force? I am seeing cellulite comments left and right on TikTok videos that I come across. So we got to do something about it. All right, we got to talk about what cellulite is, why we feel this way, why we've been taught to hate it, and how we can reframe the way that we feel about it with maybe a little bit of compassion, because we deserve it, all right? So let's just jump right in. What the heck is cellulite? Really, let's dig into the science, okay? Cellulite, it's just fat pushing against connective tissue, which is something that we all have. It's common, it is harmless, and the way that women versus men have their connective tissues, it's a little bit different. So it is more prevalent in women, but any gender can have cellulite. The fat pushing against the connective skin tissue creates this dimpled or kind of bumpy appearance, which maybe you have heard not so lovingly called cottage cheese. I really freaking hate that. But it kind of has that, resemblance. I think everybody listening knows what it looks like. It does primarily affect areas like thighs and hips and booties and tummies. That's where we tend to store fat. So it would make sense that when fat in those areas then pushes against that connective tissue, you get that texture. And cellulite can appear on anyone. It does not matter If you are thicker or thinner, if you're plus size, if you're super skinny, it really doesn't matter. Cellulite can appear on any body because all of us, the majority of us, have fat stored somewhere on our bodies. You need it. Fat is important for human bodies and survival. So most people have it. And there's a lot of things that can affect cellulite, things like genetics and hormones and, like I said, just the structure of that connective tissue in general, the way that it's structured between men and women. All of that can affect how much or how little cellulite you have and where it is on your body. Over 85% of women have it. I've even seen some numbers, 95% of women have it. It really doesn't matter size or weight. And it's not a flaw. It doesn't mean that something is wrong with your body. Let's make that crystal freaking clear, okay? It's just how bodies are made. If you have cellulite, then congrats, you have a human body. Most people do. If it's so common, then why do we hate it so much? And why do I see a constant critique of it on social media? And why do so many of my clients hate it? Well, the beauty industry profits off of insecurities. If there is a problem, then there can be a solution, and most of the time people want to make money off of that quote unquote solution. So the beauty industry has invented cellulite creams, fillers, surgery, shapewear, all of this stuff so that you do not see the cellulite. You can get rid of it, which I hate to break it to you, but creams can't actually do that. The beauty industry just wants you to know that there is something wrong with your body and that they have a solution for that problem. That way they can make millions upon millions and actually billions upon billions of dollars. We also in media and advertising have used so much Photoshop and like airbrush technology that things we view as normal are not actually the norm. At my studio, I make it very clear that things that are permanently on someone's body will not be something that I remove. I'm okay with photoshopping out mosquito bites, cuts, scratches, maybe your dog jumped on you, you went out camping for the weekend and God, every mosquito on earth decided to take a little nibble. I get that. But when we start to remove things that are normal, natural, and always a part of our body, we train our brains that those things aren't actually normal and natural. And that's what the majority of media nowadays has done by constantly airbrushing models and anyone used in like any kind of advertising campaign. We don't view natural things as natural. We're starting to view natural things as problem areas. And that's just bullshit. It just is. So there's so much pressure then to be smooth and tight and toned, and the conversation isn't really about health, it's about control and it's about shame, so that you will keep spending money, you will keep trying, you will keep staying quiet and silent, and we have such better ways to spend our time than doing any of that. All right? You were not born to hate your thighs. You were taught to do so. And as you know, if we were taught to do something, we can unlearn it. If we were brought up to believe a certain thing, that's a conditioned belief, and we can change that. So let's do it. Let's reframe how we feel about cellulite, and let's approach our bodies with a little bit of compassion. I know you can do it. I know it's in there. I could do it. Hell, if I could do it, I know you can too. All right? So let's start off by remembering that cellulite does not make us any less sexy. It doesn't make us any less worthy. It doesn't make us any less strong. It quite literally means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Texture does not cancel out beauty as well. Real skin has texture. We have pores. Our bodies are meant to move and stretch. If we were nothing but taut skin, we would not be able to function. We would not be able to move. So having texture, totally normal, very natural, right? We all got it. And that just might be something that you need to repeat to yourself on a regular basis until it really, really sticks in your brain, okay? Also, our bodies are not meant to be filtered. I know that Photoshop is very accessible. You've got apps that make it incredibly easy to smooth and to change the way that our bodies looked. But that's not the whole point. We don't exist to be filtered. We don't exist to be changed digitally. We exist just to exist. Our bodies are meant to be lived in, so that's what we should be doing with them. You know, your body, it carries you around. It connects you to joy. It creates joy. And we're going to judge it? We're going to be mean to ourselves over some dimples, some texture, some stuff that looks like a beautiful tree growing or a delicious orange peel. Those things have texture, and we don't negate their worth or beauty because of it. Why are we doing the same things to ourselves? It doesn't make any sense. Cellulite is not the enemy, okay? Shame is. The problem is the shame that comes with it. And I know that everybody listening is totally capable of working through that. That's why you're listening, right? That's why you're listening. I know that's why you're here. So how do we do that? We know that cellulite's okay. We know it's normal. It's natural. But you're not going to suddenly look in the mirror and go, yeah, I'm totally fine with this. We have to actually practice what we preach. We actually have to do the work. But I got some tips, all right? Start by unfollowing triggering accounts on social media. And I would highly recommend following body diverse creators. So make sure not everybody you follow on social media has the exact same body type. Follow lots of different people. Expose yourself to lots of different bodies, because then you start to normalize it. You start to see stuff like that on a regular basis and you go, okay, this is not as uncommon as I thought it was. Remember, we're talking about 85 to 90% of our population having cellulite. All right? Make sure you are viewing bodies that get that and that show them off. You can do some mirror work. What the heck is mirror work? Well, it's a self-love technique that involves looking at your reflection in a mirror and then also practicing positive affirmations at the same time. I think mirror work is really cool. I do it just a little tiny bit at a time. Normally when I get out of the shower and I'm looking at myself totally nude, I'll do just a little bit. It's like a practice, you know, it builds self-confidence, it can foster emotional healing, and it improves self-esteem. So win, win, win. Essentially, at the end of the day, mirror work is just about connecting with yourself and saying, okay, I acknowledge who I am. I have cellulite on my stomach. I have cellulite on my legs. I have a little bit of cellulite on my arms. Okay. This is the body that I've got. This is what we're working with. We're going to roll with it. So mirror work can really cultivate a lot of self-love through very positive self-talk. And if you've never tried it before, I know it can be scary for some people to be like, oh God, I have to look at myself like without a lot of clothing on in a mirror. I'd recommend just trying it, even if it feels weird. 30 seconds, maybe not even 15 seconds. Get out of the shower, go, okay, this body has carried me through a lot. Cellulite is not the enemy, shame is. My body is doing a good job. And then boom, put your towel on and you can be done. Also, give yourself permission to keep photos where your cellulite, showed up. Stop deleting every single photo that you currently hate, because I can almost guarantee you're not going to always feel that way. And by giving yourself permission to keep those photos, you're training your brain, right, that it's okay for these things to exist. Keep the memory for now. If you want to delete it later, you can delete it later. But for now, we're going to keep those memories and maybe in a couple of months return to it and see how you feel. I also want you to wear the shorts. I want you to get in the pool. I want you to take the pictures. I want your cellulite to be out there. And maybe right now it's too scary to actually go somewhere in public and do that. You can practice at home. Put on your swimsuit and walk around your house. Do the dishes. Vacuum. Go sit outside. Like, you can practice these things little by little and build towards actually going out in public and being okay with your cellulite being out there. I think this is really, really important because too many people will wait until they look different in order to start living their life. And unfortunately, we are not guaranteed any amount of time here on Earth in these bodies. So let's not squander the time and the blessing that we have by being here. Let's start living our life right now. And we're going to practice doing that in the safety of our home first. and then we can build towards going out into public. And most importantly, start really recognizing what your body does and not just what it looks like. Appreciation for what our bodies are capable of versus appreciation for what our bodies look like. Because whether you like it or not, your body is going to change. It just will. It's going to change in one way or another. You maybe like it, you maybe won't. So when we can appreciate what our body does and be thankful and grateful for all of that, then it doesn't matter as much when our body starts to look different, because our bodies are still pretty cool, doing pretty cool stuff for us. So as we close out on this topic, remember, you do not need to be totally smooth to be beautiful. Texture is normal. Cellulite does not make you any less of a person. It never did. It never made you less valuable, okay? And you're allowed to be soft. You're allowed to be seen. Go out there, live your life, enjoy. Because this is it. This is the one body we get. So we might as well enjoy it. If you're really, really struggling and you need a little bit more support, feel free to message me or tag me in a photo where your cellulite is on display, and I will hype you up. All right. So if you need a little additional support, please don't hesitate to reach out. I am happy to be your hype person to get you stoked and pumped about having your cellulite on display. I'm happy to do that. All right, before we get to our Babe of the Week, there are a couple of ways that you can support this podcast and the work that I do here at Bucks and Boudoir. The first being liking and subscribing to this podcast. Of course, that's so unbelievably helpful, because then you know when I have new episodes coming out and you can keep that self-love work going. You can also share this with a friend. That's so incredibly helpful as well. So if you know somebody who has not gone to the beach with you this summer because they are too insecure about their cellulite, maybe send this episode to them and be like, hey, it's normal, it's natural, you're a baddie, please come to the pool with me. Also, you can leave a rating and a review for this podcast on pretty much every single podcast provider of choice. That's also incredibly helpful because it lets the algorithm know that there's something good going on inside of these episodes, and then it's more likely to be shared with other people. And that's how we spread the self-love around. So please leave a rating or a review. If you want to follow the work that I'm doing at Bucks and Boudoir, you can find me pretty much everywhere on all social media at Bucks and Boudoir. And then my website is bucksandboudoir.com. If you want to keep your self-love journey going and you want to get out of diet culture, I have a new guide called the Anti-Diet Starter Kit. You can check that out as well. Super duper helpful if you're like sick of calorie counting, you hate the relationship that you have with food, and you just want to start living your life again. Check out that mini course. Okay, now on to the good stuff. The Babe of the Week. For those of you who do not run a small business, most towns have something called a chamber of commerce, and it's like a way to connect with other small businesses and get support and help. Port Washington, which is the city that I am located in, is kind of special. We have a nonprofit that is running that. Like, I don't have a chamber of commerce. I have Christina, who runs our nonprofit that helps out small businesses, and she is my Babe of the Week because she is a dang hard worker. Managing all of these projects and helping out so many small business owners is no joke. She has a lot on her plate pretty much all of the time, especially now that it's summer, because there are so many festivals and activities coming up, and she is so good at working with the businesses here in Port Washington to try to give them the support that they need. She has Port Washington Main Street. That's like the name of the nonprofit. They've done such a good job, like subsidizing advertising costs, finding new ways for businesses to market themselves. And like I said, planning a ton of events. In fact, there's one coming up on August 21st called Gowns and Goblets, the Ladies' Night Out and Wine Walk. I'm really pumped about this event. And she's had to do a ton of work to plan and get everything ready for it. And it's going to be so much fun. If you're into Renaissance fairs at all, I would recommend coming to this Ladies' Night Out. Everybody's going to be dressed up. There's going to be like a court jester insulting people, and you can throw tomatoes at them. There are going to be princes walking around, serenading the attendees. All of the businesses are doing something fun or like Ren Fair themed. We're going to be doing fairy eyelashes here at my studio, so you can come and get some pretty like fairy eyelashes, and it's just going to be a blast. There's so much happening. A limo that's going to be serving as a chariot, giveaways, a contest, a costume contest, deals, promotions, new drinks to try. And if you are into wine, you can add on the wine walk portion and enjoy wine at all of the businesses as well. This alone, just this event, is a ton of work. And Christina has been doing the planning for not only this event, but for so many other ones this year. She and her team absolutely crush it. I feel incredibly lucky to have someone like her as kind of the coordinator for small businesses here in Port Washington. So she's got to be my babe of the week, because honestly, she's like my babe of the year, because this work is never ending and she always is doing something and she always has so much to do. But I can let her know that I appreciate it, and I know that the other small business owners here in Port also really, really appreciate her. So shout out to Christina. Thank you so much for all of you do. That is everything. I will leave you with the same reminder that I always leave you with, which is that your body is a good body. Be kind to it. Be kind to yourself. And we will talk again soon. Bye.